Hello and welcome to World Youth Day Central and our continuing coverage of World Youth Day Krakow. Pope Francis arrived in Poland today. Now he won't meet up with pilgrims until tomorrow, but he is already making headlines. On the flight to Krakow, he spoke about the French priest who was killed while celebrating Mass yesterday. Pope Francis said the world is at war, but it is not a war of religions. He spoke about migration and called on the international community to look at the reasons people are leaving their homelands. After landing in Poland, he met with the president and addressed local authorities before having a private meeting with the bishops of Poland at Wawel Cathedral. In the cathedral, he venerated the relics of Saint Stanislaw and Saint Pope John Paul II before addressing the bishops. Now, the full text of the Pope's address to Polish authorities is available on our blog. World Youth Day catechesis sessions started today in Krakow. Bishops from around the world are invited to give catechesis talks to pilgrims who speak their native language. The Tauron Arena is home to the English language hub at World Youth Day, and that is where Cardinal Sean O'Malley of Boston gave one of today's catechesis talks.
The Japanese have this parable about a man who lived in a magnificent house on the top of a mountain, and each day he would go out and take a walk and look at the sea below. And one day as he was out walking, he sees there's this huge tsunami rushing toward the shore, and then he sees his neighbors down on the beach having a picnic. So he wants to warn them. You know what he does? He sets fire to his house. And his neighbors down on the beach look up, they see the flames, and some of them said, "Let's climb the mountain and help our neighbor to save his home." And the others said, "Oh, we're having too much fun. You go." Well, the ones who climbed the mountain to help their neighbor were saved. And those who stayed on the beach when the tidal wave hit the shore perished. Sometimes we think we're doing God a favor when we perform a work of mercy. But actually, we're climbing that mountain of love where we will find mercy and salvation for ourselves as a result of the mercy that we've shown to others. Only by climbing the mountain of love and mercy, only by making a gift of ourselves, will we find fulfillment, happiness, and salvation. Only then will we be medics in Pope Francis's field hospital. God bless you.
Now, another part of World Youth Day is the national gatherings. For some countries, it's the only time that Catholic youth from across the country can be together in one place. That is especially true for two nations taking part in this World Youth Day, Canada and Australia. Both those countries held a national gathering yesterday. Canada's national gathering included all 10 Canadian bishops in Krakow and the nearly 4,000 pilgrims from across our country. It coincided with the feast day of Saints Anne and Joachim, so the event focused on family and faith. The gathering was part witness session, including testimony from young Canadian couples about different aspects of faith life in the family, part prayer service led by Cardinal Gerard Lacroix of Quebec, and part celebration. The Canadian ambassador to Poland was also on hand to welcome the delegation to Krakow. Now, the Australian National Gathering also took place yesterday, and it featured 19 bishops from that country meeting with pilgrims from down under. During that gathering, the Australian bishops announced that they are declaring 2018 the Year of Youth. It will also be the 10th anniversary of World Youth Day Sydney, and a year of celebration will kick off with the Catholic Youth Festival in Sydney in December 2017. Now, Emily caught up with Cardinal Lacroix at the Canadian gathering to get his thoughts on the week.
What a joy to be in Poland with so many Canadians. I hear we're close to 4,000 from all over the country, and many from Quebec also. We're so happy that we're here together to experience this universal church, see other young people who, like us, want to live their faith and grow in the gospel. That's beautiful.
So Pope Francis is going to join us this week for the World Youth Day. So what are your hopes or maybe your expectations on what he's going to say to the youth, but also to the Polish people here?
Well, you know, Pope Francis is he's a pope filled with so much joy, the joy of the gospel, like his apostolic exhortation, and the joy of love. And he transmits that just by being who he is. But I'm sure he will also have a very prophetic message here. The world is living a time of terrorism, of people who are so scared of the future, scared of being open to others. Pope Francis will certainly invite us to open our hearts to recognize that all of humanity are our brothers and sisters. We need to find a way to live together. We can't escape from this earth. We have to live together. The gospel is the key to learning that, because Jesus taught us how to love each other. Forgiveness is a big part of it, reconciliation. And I'm sure that the Pope will invite the young people to be very committed in this new mission.
And could you speak a little bit more about the theme of mercy? For example, you touched upon reconciliation, so maybe could you just tell us a little bit more the significance of that theme for this World Youth Day?
Well, we're in the heart of the Year of Mercy, and this country, Poland, can talk a lot about mercy because they've experienced it. Not only because of Pope John Paul II and Sister Faustina, their whole history. They've been trampled on, they've been destroyed, they've suffered so much, and yet they're a people filled with love, with mercy, with forgiveness. They've been able to do that because they have the Lord in their heart. This is a faith-filled people, and I'm glad that World Youth Day is being held here this year so that we can see and experience how beautiful it is to be with the Lord and how the impossible becomes possible. You know, we see so many countries right now who are at war, who inside their own country are in civil wars. How are we going to get out of this? Mercy. And the Lord wants to give us that love, that forgiveness. He wants to give us the strength to change this world. And I'm sure Pope Francis will be very inviting so that us young people, us and all the other young people, will be committed to change this world. One person at a time, one day at a time, infiltrated in all of society with the gospel of love, the gospel of life.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a wonderful day.
All of these events happened at Krakow's Tauron Arena, or as it is known this week, the Mercy Center. It is jointly hosted by the Knights of Columbus, Salt and Light, and Holy Cross Family Ministries. Sebastian caught up with two people running a unique cafe inside the center.
Well, here in Krakow, Poland for World Youth Day at the Mercy Center, which is one of the English pavilions where catechesis will take place. Thousands of pilgrims coming in and out every day. And there's many different displays, different groups of people represented. And one of the most important ones is the National Religious Vocation Conference. And I'm here with two people representing that conference, Brother Paul, good friend of ours at Salt and Light, and Sister Debbie. So, first of all, as the executive director, Brother Paul, this is something that you've been organizing for a long time, but what's the goal, what's the hope when you're putting together a display, a room like this where pilgrims can come and actually talk about vocations and see religious people up close?
Basically, what we tried to do was to use the concept of Pope Francis, a culture of vocation. So we tried to create an environment where pilgrims could encounter religious priests, brothers and sisters in a very warm, inviting, comfortable setting to have one-on-one conversations about vocations, their faith. If they have any questions about discernment, we're here for them.
And Sister Debbie, what do you think? When you're coming into this, you're seeing these thousands of people. When you actually have the moment of encounter with them, what do you say to them?
Well, first of all, it's always a joyful encounter. So earlier today, I was actually down in the arena welcoming the Australians, and every one of them was greeting me with joy and saying, "Oh, Sister Debbie." They were looking at my name tag, and I was handing out to them medals that were blessed and talking to them about vocation. So the reminder, come up here and have the conversation with us and just get to know us, because many young people today don't know religious sisters, brothers, and priests.
Now tell me a little bit about the medal that you're giving out. I have one here. We can get a little close-up of it.
Sure, I had gotten these medals while I was in Rome recently, and it's the Divine Mercy Medal, and on the other side is a picture of Pope Francis. It's a special medal that was done for the Year of Mercy, which we're still celebrating, and I also had them blessed by Pope Francis.
Okay, so a very special gift that the pilgrims can receive when they come up to the Vocations Cafe.
Correct.
Now, let's look at religious life in general today. I mean, it's something that a lot of people talk about. We say, you know, there's decline in religious life, there's decline in vocations to the priesthood. When you look at survey the scene for us, what's your assessment of it, and what's the path forward? What is the strategy for moving forward in the church today?
I have great hope for the future of religious life. We have had over 400 people enter religious life in the past year, and we're beginning to track those numbers, and it's encouraging to see young people. In fact, 20% of newly ordained and young religious who have taken perpetual vows or have been ordained recently, 20% of them have participated in World Youth Day. So these are important Catholic events that can nurture one's faith and certainly invite one to consider a religious vocation or to priesthood.
Yeah, there's no question. The stories are incredible when you hear some of the young people talking about their vocation, how it came about from the World Youth Day. There's so many of them here that you get to. Sister Debbie, I'd ask you, what is the best part about religious life?
What's the best part about religious life? I think it's joining together in community, when you have prayer together, when you can have ministry together, when you can talk to one another really about the important things in life. So I think vowed communal life is the most important part of religious life.
And you're part of a relatively small community that not a lot of people know about, but just talk about, you know, how tight-knit you are and why that's so important, because you told me before we were speaking on camera that it really does feel like a family.
Absolutely. So I'm a sister of St. Cyril Methodius. We're located in north central Pennsylvania. And the great part about our community, there's 74 sisters. We know each other well. Not only do we know each other well, but we know each other's families as well. And so there's that long history when we gather together. We're not just recalling memories that may have been shared in a book somewhere, but actually we've lived those memories with our sisters. And not only about living the memories, we're always in the process of making new memories.
Absolutely. Okay, Brother Paul, Sister Debbie, thank you very much for joining us. Good luck, and thanks for being here. It's a wonderful place to come.
It's an absolute delight. This is my fifth World Youth Day, and I'm always inspired, so thank you.
The religious of the Catholic Church, always young at heart.
Social media is playing a big role in how pilgrims discover everything on offer in Krakow. Our team spoke to the social media team at the Mercy Center to find out just how important it is and why.
For World Youth Day, obviously it's for the young people, and we feel it's important to be where the people are, which is, right now social media. So I think, it's really so important because you don't know how your experience at World Youth Day might impact others. So a tweet or, a particularly moving Instagram post or Facebook post could really be that spark for other people who maybe couldn't make it to World Youth Day, to start their journey, toward Christ. We really wanted to get people excited about World Youth Day and, give them something to share with others. So of course, we really went all out on Facebook. Twitter especially is the best way to know what's happening right then and there, especially because World Youth Day is so vast that you're not going to be able to see everything. So we really wanted to make sure that people knew, the correct hashtags and handles, and then we had a great tool that aggregated all of the conversations across all social platforms about World Youth Day, so people could have a one-stop shop to kind of see it all. I think, again, going back to the fact that World Youth Day is just so big, and 2 or 3 million pilgrims are slated to be in Krakow this week. That's enormous. That's beautiful and wonderful, but you're not going to be able to do it all as a single person. So it's great to be able to tap into social and find out what's happening, outside of the Mercy Center, what's happening, in other catechesis sites around the city. And so, for that reason, it's just an amazing thing to be able to have an experience of World Youth Day that's really comprehensive and that prior to social just wasn't possible. I'm already seeing so many people making connections, via the hashtag, pilgrims from one group, using the hashtag and seeing another group use it and then meeting up. And that's really what World Youth Day is all about. It's about, experiencing and understanding how vast the Universal Church is, and it's been wonderful. So of course the main World Youth Day hashtag is hashtag Krakow 2016, but then here in the Mercy Center we've created the hashtag WYD Mercy Center. So of course, we want pilgrims to know it's not just about us. World Youth Day is something that we're a part of, and we're so privileged to be here. So share those posts and tweets with us.
And the day closed with this moment at the Archbishop's residence.
Dobry wieczór. Vi saluto cordialmente.
Bardzo serdecznie.
Vi benedica Dio Onnipotente, Padre, Figlio e Spirito Santo. Buonanotte.
Dobranoc.
Buonanotte. E pregate per me.
Módlcie się za mnie.
Well, that's all for this edition of World Youth Day Central. Tomorrow we will have live coverage of the World Youth Day Papal Welcome Ceremony. Join us at 11:15 a.m. Eastern Time for that. And of course, we'll be right back here to give you a rundown of everything happening at World Youth Day Krakow. We leave you tonight with this memory from World Youth Days past.
When I think back over 2002 and the extraordinary privilege of having accompanied this broken body of this saint, from the moment that he came down the steps of the plane at the airport, which was not planned, we had the elevator and the lift all planned and everything else, and he decided to come down those stairs, and you could almost feel every step, one by one, and at the bottom of the step, banging his cane in the ground, looking for Bishop Mietek, who was behind him, his secretary. And then it was the airport welcoming ceremony was extraordinary, because everything was scripted, but of course he didn't abide by the script. And at one point, Bishop Jivic came over to me and said, bring up 35 or 40 young people. And I brought up a number of young people that were sick and some that were terminally ill. And to see these people meeting, young people in a wheelchair, a paraplegic, a girl with a brain tumor and whatever, and the meeting of these people, and Cardinal Carter, a very elderly, a very infirm cardinal, and the meeting of the two of them was truly extraordinary. We have a wonderful picture of that, which I've often looked back upon and remembered. John Paul II had everything going against him for this World Youth Day, and you have to ask yourself, what about all these young people coming to see a man who couldn't even articulate things, whose body was rendered almost immobile, and yet he was younger than all of us. He was alive with young people. The welcoming ceremony at Exhibition Place on the Thursday remains, in my mind, the pièce de résistance of any Olympic opening ceremony. We decided to put this together and to surround him with young people. The image had to be young people. And so we flooded the stage with young people. And those images, when I see them now, it really was what the pontificate was about. This was a pope who connected with young people, and young people who connected with him. You know, banging his hand on the table, and even drooling, and, you know, immobilized a bit by the Parkinson's. He was alive. And another thing we did in the welcoming ceremony, out of respect for him, but to connect with him, is we invited the Spirit Movers, a group of dancers in wheelchairs, severely handicapped young adults from the L'Arche community. And we brought them up on stage, and with their caregivers, they danced around the Pope to a song about the Beatitudes on this holy mountain. And the Pope also asked me, he said, where did that idea? And I said, from you. I said, it was important that they connect with you, you connect with them. And then I had the privilege of coming on the plane, the helicopter with him, from the Sisters of St. Joseph Mother House over to the airport. And we had all of the movements organized, so whenever we would pull the Pope on this special platform, I had young people leading him in native costumes. So when we got to the airport, his secretary said to me, no. I said, what do you mean? He said, you're going to do it. So I had to lead the Pope on that mobile platform down the red carpet, and he had asked me to bring some young people to the airport. The government wanted a restricted departure. So I brought the whole cast of the Stations of the Cross, and 50 of the 500 who were in the choir. And so it was a glorious departure. The young people singing, Jesus Christ, you are my life. And I introduced them. I told the RCMP, I want to introduce them to the principal actors of the stations. And I remember saying, this is Mary Magdalene. This is Simon of Cyrene, a young man who was in a mobile electric wheelchair. And this is Jesus. Jesus is going to say goodbye to you. And he looked at me and said, Jesus mi saluta. And I said, oh, no, it's just at the airport here. And then when we got to the bottom of the steps of the plane, the cardinal said goodbye, and some bishops, the chiefs of police, and I shook his hand and I said, Holy Father, the lift is ready to take you up, because he could hardly walk. And he said, no, I came down the steps, I'll go up the steps. So we watched him, Chief Fantino and I and the head of the OPP, and what we were watching is this body was pulling up the stairs, being pulled up, pulling up on the stairs. As Navarro Val said, it was the soul pulling the body. And when he got to the top, he waved. And There was a touching moment at the end with a wonderful journalist from CBC, Alison Smith. And she said, "What was all of this like for you?" I was standing there at the foot of the plane. They're closing the door of the plane. I was very emotional. And I said, Toronto this week, the words came to me, Toronto was like a canvas, and God splashed it with colors and beauty.